A familiar face in the crowd last night at the Republican debate in Las Vegas. GOP 2008 vice presidential nominee Sarah Palin. I caught up with the former Alaska governor early this week, and I got her take on several of the GOP candidates. We began our conversation by asking for her reaction to Donald Trump's description of himself as an evangelical.
I will never judge anybody's evangelical quotient because, you know, who am I to judge what someone's personal faith is? But when someone has given their life to Christ, when they live their life for God, they've dedicated the steps in their life to doing good in the name of our Lord and call themselves a Christian, you know, I'm not going to doubt that.
Well, we take a look at the latest polling, and it looks right now like things are shaping up to be Ted Cruz versus Donald Trump. Where do you think Reagan voters should lean or will lean in a choice between the two?
Well, wouldn't that be a great problem to have? A Trump versus Cruz battle, if you will. I think we would be very fortunate to face such a thing because both are fighters for America and certainly are much more independent than a few of the candidates that are in there that I would consider more part of the establishment. The status quo, going along to get along, we don't need any more of that. That got us into this mess. So yeah, that'd be a good problem to have. You know, we'll see in the next month, 2 months, as finally some of the voting begins, how things start shaking out. Because JD, you know, of course, you know better than I even that a month or 2 months in politics, that is a lifetime.
We recognize a long way between now and the general election. The first primary following the Iowa caucuses, of course, in New Hampshire. Christie appears to be on the rise in the polls there. A whole lot of conservatives, though, are wary of him because of his embrace of Obama, literally, before the 2012 election, and, of course, his strong views concerning gun control. Could you ever envision supporting Governor Christie?
Not if he's not 100% for the Second Amendment and understands our God-given right to protect ourselves and the innocent ones around us. No, I couldn't support that. I couldn't support that. And no, yeah, so remember that embrace of President Obama that we saw from Governor Christie. That was kind of symbolic. I think a lot of people interpret it as that, but also sort of an embracing of growing government in some arenas. We certainly know that, like Reagan used to say, government's not the answer, it is the problem. So those who would support more government or relying on a federal government to do what a state or a community, certainly an individual, can do better than bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., someone who would lean towards that larger, unsustainable federal government bloat, I couldn't support that.
Sarah, Dr. Ben Carson has been a favorite among conservatives, but lately he's dropped in the polls. What would you advise him to do?
Oh, I so admire him and his intelligence, and I love even JD his innocence, if you will, and I say that with all due. He's not jaded and tainted, it seems like, with that political process that, man, it's brutal, isn't it? I mean, it can just wear you down, and yet he is still, he still seems to be able to take another step forward. Yeah, it's a tough road in front of him, but as long as he keeps being candid and speaking truth and not letting political consultants or those around him who would ever want to kind of change his message, just not let anybody try to shape you and mold you into something that some consultant wants you to be, that's a big mistake. But it is tough jumping up there on a national stage when you hadn't been there before to really dig into the idiosyncrasies of some of the issues and the details of some of our, especially foreign policy issues. So it's a long, hard road in front of him, but you know, I just have all the respect in the world for Dr. Carson.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Sarah, because I believe you use the word innocence with regards in regards to Dr. Ben Carson. That's aligned with integrity, and yet when it comes to Hillary Clinton, polls have shown a majority of Americans see her as dishonest and untrustworthy. So with that in mind, really, do you think she can win the presidency?
Wow, you're making a really good point there, that comparison. Dr. Carson is the antithesis of Hillary Clinton because of that integrity, the ethics, the honesty, the candidness, the trustworthiness of Dr. Carson versus that political establishment that has been, just part of creating these problems and then blaming other people, never being held accountable, and still trying to buffalo voters into, choosing them, pretending that they're going to do anything different than they've already done to get us into the mess. So, talk about the antithesis of Clinton would be Dr. Carson. No, again, I think if Americans do their homework, if voters look into what it is that Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, supported in the context of everything that Barack Obama has been a part of in growing government and creating this less secure, less sovereign nation of ours, fundamentally transforming it. Hillary Clinton was by his side, she was shining his boots. So no, if people will realize that, then no, they will choose the antithesis of Hillary Clinton.
This reminder, you can see more of my exclusive one-on-one interview with Sarah Palin tomorrow night, right here, only on Newsmax Prime. Now, you heard what Sarah had to say. What do you have to say in response? Would love to get your comments, and why don't you send them to me at newsmaxtv.com/comments. After the break, our political panel weighs in with more on last night's debate. Ford O'Connell and Franco Ripple are up next.